Have you ever wondered where our founding fathers got the idea for the Second Amendment's right to keep and bear arms in the first place? Well, it turns out that protecting the right to armed self-defense in the United States Constitution dates all the way back to jolly old England and to its English Declaration of Rights in 1689. Now, today we're going to talk about how the English ancestor of our Second Amendment, which was born across the Atlantic in the 17th century, helps us understand what our rights are today under the Second Amendment's right to keep and bear arms. Hey folks, I'm Mark and welcome to the Four Boxes Diner. In the District of Columbia versus Heller, the United States Supreme Court held that the Second Amendment protects an individual right to bear arms in the home. Now, the court held that interpreting the Second Amendment, one critical piece of historical evidence that we all must look to, and by all, I mean that also includes the United States Supreme Court's justices themselves. We all must look at a certain law called the 1689 English Declaration of Rights. The Declaration of Rights included a right to arms, and Heller explained that the Founding Fathers had that right in mind when they wrote and adopted the Second Amendment. So what does the English Declaration of Rights tell us about the meaning of the Second Amendment today in the 21st century? First, the English right to arms shows that the Second Amendment was meant to protect all of us from a tyrannical government trying to take away our guns. And how do we know this? Well, let's start with the text of the English Declaration of Rights itself. You see, the 1689 English Declaration of Rights provided, quote, that the subjects which are Protestants may have arms for their defense suitable to their conditions and as allowed by law. So why did the Protestants need arms in England? Well, the Declaration of Rights was adopted as a reaction to the tyrannical reign of James II. That's King James II of England. James II was a militant Catholic, and one of the things that he tried to do when he was the King of England was to disarm all of the Protestants in England. But eventually, of course, the English nobility forced King James II off the throne, and they replaced him with William of Orange, a Protestant from Holland. Now, as a side note, William was married to James's daughter, Mary, which is where we get the name William and Mary as the name of that college we all know in Virginia. Now, William and Mary and the English Parliament then adopted the Declaration of Rights in 1689. Now, this was designed to really outlaw a lot of the terrible things that James II had been doing. Specifically, the Declaration of Rights of 1689 was designed to outlaw James II's abuses of power, including, and most importantly for our topic, his effort to disarm the English people. Now, this history shows that one of the main goals of the Declaration of Rights was to protect the people from the government taking away their guns. Now, you should also know that the English right to arms extended beyond just the right to own a firearm. In fact, the language of the Declaration of Rights and the debates when Parliament adopted it made clear that the right to arms protected an ancient right. That's an ancient right that had long been implicit in English law, and they said that James II, as king, had violated this ancient law. And what was this ancient law? Well, the ancient law, or the ancient right, included the right, in fact, sometimes the duty, to carry arms outside the home for defensive purposes. You see, English law had long secured the right of the people to armed self-defense and to armed force in the name of self-defense. And it also obligated English subjects sometimes to turn out with their own guns in order to help hunt down criminals or defend their communities against an attack. Now, because the Declaration of Rights incorporated these ancient understandings, it was understood to include a right to carry guns for self-defense. And because, of course, the Second Amendment, our Second Amendment here in the United States, was based on this English Declaration of Rights, that is strong evidence that the American right to keep and bear arms includes the right to carry guns outside the home as well. Now, the third point I want to make is that our founding fathers used the 1689 Declaration of Rights as a baseline or a minimum standard or minimum threshold for our own right to keep and bear arms. You see, the history is also clear that when the founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, they wanted it to be more expansive than those rights guaranteed to the English under the English Declaration of Rights. Let me give you some examples. First, the English right to arms extended only to Protestants, of course. Now, that was because of the background of that particular right at that time. Remember, James II, a Catholic, had tried to disarm English Protestants. But once the Protestants gained power in England, they protected their own rights, but not necessarily the rights of the many English Catholics, many of whom sided with James II during his reign. But in America, though, the Second Amendment was designed and meant to protect a right to bear arms regardless of religion. That's why the Second Amendment extends its protections to, quote unquote, the people, which of course is a sweeping term embracing the entire citizenry of the United States. Second, the English right to arms was also limited by some pre-existing English restrictions, including restrictions based on what social class you belong to. The history from our founding here, though, makes clear that the Second Amendment was meant to do away with many of these restrictions, including those based on whether or not you are part of the nobility. In America, we don't have a nobility, of course, and we never have, even though apparently we have Prince Harry and Meghan Markle living in Los Angeles. So let's wrap up. So here you go. There are 3 lessons from the Second Amendment's English ancestor I want you to know about and understand. First, the history shows that it was intended to protect people from being disarmed by their own government. We don't want a James II here taking away our guns. Second, the Second Amendment includes a right to carry weapons for self-defense. And third, while the Second Amendment was based on the 1689 English Declaration of Rights, okay, including the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment here in the United States was actually meant and designed to be broader and more protective of that right to bear arms, and it was designed to do away with some of those British restrictions, including those based on religion or social class. So thanks for joining me here today at the Four Boxes Diner, where we serve hot, fresh Second Amendment news and analysis on a daily basis. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time here at the Four Boxes Diner.
Orders up. Table 2A.